Chapter 1. The Hunt Begins. Adya sprinted through the narrow aisles of the cargo bay, her boots pounding against the metal grating. She could hear the harsh, guttural voices of the pirates behind her, laughing and calling out to her with sickening glee. Panic surged through her, but she knew the storage hall well. It was a sprawling labyrinth of towering crates, towering as high as the eye could see, filled with supplies for the distant mining outpost. Her chest burned from running, but she couldn't stop. If she did, they would catch her, and she knew the fate of enslavement awaited her. She'd heard stories about pirates like Grunted and his men. The distant clang of boots on metal reminded her they were gaining. A sharp laugh echoed, unnerving her. "Run all you like, little mouse," Grun's voice boomed. "We'll find you." Adya slipped into a narrow gap between two towering crates, pressing herself against the cold steel. She held her breath, praying they wouldn't see her. Chapter 2. Stalkers in the dark Grun's boots struck the floor in heavy, confident steps as he led his three men through the labyrinth of cargo containers. He loved this part, the hunt. His eyes gleamed with malicious intent, and his men followed closely, eager for the spoils of their raid. They had boarded the outpost expecting little resistance, just servitors and a few Mechanicum engineers. Then they'd seen her, and the game had changed. "Split up," Grund barked to his men. "She's clever, but she's no match for us." The three pirates obeyed, moving through the maze in different directions, each grinning as they imagined the fear of their prey. The creak of metal and the faint sound of something scraping across the floor made them pause, but only for a moment. Their minds were fixated on Adya, their next thrall. Unseen and unheard by them, something else was watching, something far deadlier than they could imagine. Chapter 3. The Midnight Shadow. Crux had been aboard the pirate ship for weeks, hidden among the filth and darkness. As a Night Lord, he was used to shadows and the fear that lurked in the hearts of lesser beings. He had stowed away for reasons even he couldn't fully explain, perhaps for amusement, perhaps to enact his own dark justice on the crew. But now, on the mining ship, something had caught his attention. Fear. Pure, untainted, mortal fear. It radiated from the cargo bay like a beacon, a woman's fear full of desperation, and then, mingling with it, the foul intent of hunters. Crux smiled beneath his midnight blue helmet. Grund and his men were easy prey for him. He moved with a predatory grace, stalking his quarry like a phantom. As he moved, he allowed himself small pleasures, the scrape of his talons against metal, the shifting of shadows. One of them stopped suddenly, sensing something. Crux watched from above, perched like a vulture. The pirate's breath quickened. Chapter 4. The First Strike. Adya's breath was shallow, her body trembling as she pressed herself deeper into the crevice between the crates. She had no weapon, no real means of defense, just her will to survive. In the distance, she heard the low, growling voice of one of the pirates closing in. But something was different now. The tone of the voices had changed, less certain, more cautious. Suddenly a scream pierced the air, a guttural, choked scream that was cut short far too quickly. Adya stiffened. The pirates had found more than just her. In the shadows above, another hunter perched silently on the edge of a towering cargo container, watching as one of the pirates wandered beneath him, oblivious. The hunter let his gauntlet slowly unfold, talons gleaming in the dim light. He could feel the man's fear, an intoxicating wave of primal terror rising within him, though the pirate didn't yet understand why. It leapt, landing soundlessly behind his prey, and reached out to claim the first kill. Chapter 5. Revelry and Fear. Crux gripped the pirate by the throat, his armored hand effortlessly hoisting the man off the ground. The pirate gasped, clawing at the gauntlet, his weapon falling uselessly to the floor. Crux smiled beneath his helm, savoring the helplessness radiating from the man. He had no intention of killing him swiftly. The pirate's eyes bulged with terror as he struggled, kicking wildly, his boots striking the giant in a desperate bid for freedom. Crux leaned in close, his voice a low, rasping whisper. "Oh,
Scream for me."
The pirate obeyed. A long, ragged scream ripped from his throat, echoing through the cargo bay like the wail of a dying animal. Crux drank it in, the sound of mortal terror, sweet and familiar. It was fear like this that had sustained him for centuries. It was why he fought, why he lived. For a brief moment, Crux let the scream linger. Then, with deliberate slowness, he tightened his grip. The sound was cut off mid-scream as the pirate's windpipe collapsed beneath the pressure of Crux's armored fist. The pirate twitched violently, eyes wide with agony, before going limp. Crux let the body fall at his feet, lifeless. He stood over it, feeling the residual echoes of the man's fear still pulsing in the air. His grin widened beneath his helmet. Fear was power.